Hello and welcome back to JACKOCAST. It's episode 5, and today a very special guest. He's got many names. Pick your favourite one. You'll know what I mean when we start talking about the Championship 5 later on. But he drives the number 89 car. He has 15 Kia Series starts with 1 win and a trip to the Championship 5. 45 Cup starts with 388 points, which puts him 18th all time. With 28 top 10 finishes and 1 win, but a little asterisk because it should be at least 3 in the Cup Series. It can only be the man of many voices, Mr. Gareth Hall. How are we? And welcome.
Thank you very much, Jacko. Yes, I was kind of nodding along to most of those stats, but I agree with some of them. Don't agree with some others, of course. There's plenty more Kia wins that were stolen from me, plenty more Cup wins that have been stolen from me. But I think what we do know is dominant force in Cup. I think most amount of points without winning a regular season race, and just a man of high consistency and talent, really.
Absolutely, and this is all stuff we'll come on to. I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but this is going to be the best episode by far, isn't it?
I'd like to hope so, but we'll find out. It depends what the question master has got in store.
We'll see. Well, the first question, like with every other podcast so far, your arrival into JACKOCAR and your league racing career before that. How did you find out about the league?
I've been racing online since 2017. I was relatively late to it. I think I was watching. I never like watching those like YouTube losers, but I think I was watching like a Tim Marduk video, and I saw that there was like a online scene. And I was like, oh, that looks relatively interesting. I did a couple of leagues. I was at one for a few years, and I was kind of done with it. I was on the way out, and sort of in the meantime, I was looking at One Hub. But the issue of One Hub is that it's Friday and full of children. So it was a case of what's something that's more applicable during the week. And with One Hub kept on popping up this little scratty little account that was replying to most of their tweets. It was called JACKOCAR. So I started watching some of their videos and I thought, I have no idea what's going on. The rules don't make any sense. This sounds perfect for me. So I think I messaged you and I was just like, because I was completely unknown to everyone in the league. I think I'd raced Quinn once or twice in like a PSGL race. And I think that was about it. So I think I just messaged you and said, do you have any space? And then you were like, what pace are you? And of course, as the humble man I am, I said, "Oh, I'm probably the second tier pace." Yeah, I got into Kia, but it's completely re-energized my love for sim racing. I was kind of done with it by the time I got into Jacko Car, but I think I found my niche.
I think so. It's a very small league, but it's the same people every season that keep coming back. So I think once you find it, it's you're part of the family, I think. But you say humble beginnings. You had your 1 season in Kia, 1 win on record, and you also had one taken away, a restart violation in Spa. We only spoke about this the other day. Apparently, because I had nothing to do with this. It's not my tier. But apparently the restart wasn't that bad, I hear. I don't know if you want to recap on that.
I think the rule at the time was it like the fourth grid slot,
Yeah,
and
so 4
I
total grid
prob
slots, 2 rows.
yes, so I was probably leading my first restart, and I must have gone at perhaps between the fourth and the fifth. But it's of course at the time, and of course as a loving and as a solid member of Team Speed now, I'm not going to put this on anyone, but of course Pete and Risky were commentating on me at the time, and behind me was Mr. Yuri Hasselager, and
Ah,
they noted that I may have jumped it by half a grid slot, and luckily, with my 30-second penalty, it dropped me a heap of points and gave Yuri a win. Shock.
course, that wouldn't happen now, would it? But
No,
no,
no.
that
I mean, it's an upstanding esports team, and even league. Of course, it's not been sullied by any sort of controversy or anything that might be called into dispute about the actual results of a race.
definitely not. Um, Despite that setback, you made your way to the Championship 5, the season in which Nils won. I've never known somebody pit so early onto the intermediates. It then caught you out with the safety car, and it ruined your race, Yori's race, and Quinn's race, I believe.
No, Quinn ruined his own race.
Quinn. Okay,
Um,
so go on.
so I can tell you vividly what happened because it is the most undeserved Championship 5 win of all time. Probably worse than a Kieran win. But we had the rain come down, and literally within about 4 seconds of the first spot of rain, Neil was pitted for inters. Bear in mind this is Portugal, so it's not like Singapore where you're expecting a monsoon to come down. He came in, and Yuri and I braved it out, and Noah, I think it was, had
Yes.
proceeded to spin 4 times in one lap on his way back to the pits. And we're on a lap that Yuri and I were basically nose to tail for the entire race. And we were head and shoulders ahead of the field. Then Quinn came in at the right time. He came in just he was a few positions back, I think, from Yuri and I. Came in, and Noah proceeded to yeet it into the pit wall on his way in on his fourth or fifth spin of the lap and bring out that safety car that gave Niels just the most disgustingly undeserved win ever. So I don't think I ever saved my video clip of it, but the sheer hatred that was coming out of my microphone whilst that was going on, of the fact that Yuri and I had been robbed of a potential win, and then Quinn at the restart under the safety car on the right tyres with Yuri and I leading because we were on the soft tyres, just drove straight into the back of me into turn 3. So,
Yes.
and then proceeded to tell me that I was in the wrong. Yes, and he was like, "You were braking in the wrong position." I was like, "Well, Danny, I'm on soft tyres. If I brake at the normal position, I'll end up at the other side of the barrier." So, no win for Danny, and unfortunately, robbed.
This is at a time when the rules meant that you couldn't come into the pits and like change your tyres to the correct tyres. Excuse me. So in today's Jacko car, in that same scenario, you and Yori would have been on the correct tyres, and we would have got a genuine result. But that's in the past, isn't it? That one. Maybe you'll go back to
Yeah.
a Championship 5 one day. I mean, we're 4 races out from this season's. You're very close to making it, but I'm not going to say any more on that. We'll just let that unfold as it
No,
happens. Go on.
Kia drivers are desperately trying to stop me, but we had Kai ruining it for me last season. We've had Waste ruining it for me this season. There's maybe something to do with how I talk to him on a Tuesday, but
Maybe. I don't know what you say that's wrong. After your debut in the Kia Series, you moved up to Cup and immediately had a deep playoff run and included a totally legitimate win at Monza. So just talk us through that first season in Cup. I've also got underneath that, with a question mark, do we talk about Silverstone underneath that? I think that was the season after, wasn't it?
I think, this is my third season in Cup now that we're in, I believe.
Something like that.
But the first time around was my second race ever was the Super Speedway. So was that last season or the season before?
I think it was the season before. I've actually worded it as deep playoff runs, so it's plural.
Yeah.
So basically, you've been successful since being promoted.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a given, but it's no. I think when I came up to Cup, I wasn't expecting to be massively competitive. I knew that I was like the pace of, say, like a Ben Harrott or some of the guys around me. I knew like Pete obviously has got pace somewhere buried underneath the continuous spin concussion he's given himself over the last 18 months or so. But I knew I was around about that pace. So when I came in and we obviously had the second race of the season, it was a super speedway, and I ended up in second, involved in just the most ridiculously stupid battle for the last 12 laps or so with three like lapped plebs that just wouldn't let me go because they were just fighting their way for like ninth position. And at the time, I was like having the best fun because I'd been on my own for the majority of that race because I think Red Matt had just pissed off and was just disappearing off into the distance. And yeah, I basically, I think Ben got taken out by Pete. Classic speed guys just wiping each other out.
Yeah.
And because this is me pre-joining speed, and yeah, so I was on my own. But then Ben was like, I think he was catching me about a second a lap because I just had, I think it was like Yuri and I think it was Mike and Jordan perhaps, or the three. I think it was the three of them, and we were just changing. I mean, one of my favorite things is to go back and listen to just the sheer like just awkward anguish in Owen's voice when he's desperately wanting me to just drop back and let them disappear. And I was just like, at the time, I was just like, oh, I'm just going to stay with these guys. And literally, I think on the last lap, I think it's Jordan just misses me, and I end up coming across the line. But yeah, it was so much fun, and getting into the playoffs was unexpected. I did think I'd be going for or be looking at the chase, but I think, yeah, the guys have kind of worked out now that I'm very much a case of I'd rather drive 2/10 a lap slower and just pick up. I'm almost like a slightly more competitive Jess. I just like
Right.
it's very much well Jess plays the game where it's like the tortoise and the hare, isn't it? Except for it's like if the tortoise also just let people overtake at the same
I was
time.
gonna
So
say
it's like
you constantly say about Jess how she needs to get aggressive, like in Kia series, to get out of the next playoff round all the time. So is this
yeah,
what you portray?
it's
Is that what Jess could be? Is that what you're saying?
I do. I always think if Jess got her elbows out a little bit, she'd probably be a bit more competitive because I think that's what I like to make. I like to not really end up in the stewards. I don't. I think I've only ended up in the stewards once, and that's when I lost my. Oh, perhaps I got perhaps one penalty. I think OKK said. So it's keeping it clean, but being a bit of a dickhead to overtake. To be fair, like I think like this season I like to make sure that like I think when you asked me in Imola and like afterwards he was like thanks for the space. I mean I'm not going to give anyone space. I've told the speed guys like I'm not going to give them space when they come past. They're going to have to make it hard. It's just not in me. But I'm not Kieran. I'm not gonna run you into a wall for no reason. But I am gonna
Yeah.
make it as hard for you as possible and hopefully back you up into the guys behind. And yeah, I think the guys in speed kind of know it because they've been on the other end of it, and I think yeah, some of the guys in ART and across the grid have slowly started to work me out. It's just a case of sorting out a few other things on my to-do list, like being a little bit quicker in quali.
Which is one of my points actually. We'll get around to that. Um, do we talk about Silverstone season 6? It's up to you. We all know what happened. Joker, or would you rather
Yeah,
stay
perfect
quiet?
Joker. No, 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 no. I'm quite happy to eviscerate Kaya. So yeah, perfect Joker. Anyone that doesn't choose Silverstone is made a complete mistake because obviously it's a pit lane that it's 37 seconds that you save in the pit lane, so a massive chunk of time. And so many other people are like, oh, I don't choose it because it's the obvious one. Well, of course it's the obvious one because it's the smart decision, you idiots. And it's so you choose Silverstone, and yeah,
Oh
so I
no.
think I'd had a solid start. I think I was in the midfield, got to the front. Everyone made their first pit stop, so I had a 17-second lead at this point. And of course, we introduced the leveler of, I mean, insert esports team name here, Kaya, and it's a case of he was just at the back on his own, and he just put it in the wall on the exit of cops. And this is a man that has gone up Eau Rouge and Radion in AI for an entire race, and if he wasn't feeling comfortable going around cops, I mean, it's hard enough, right? And this is what I just don't get. It's hard enough to put it in the wall at most tracks, unless they're like close contact. Like, but to put it in the wall at cops and bring out a safety car, you've got to be going into that corner at full speed with no lift and possibly with tin tray wings. It just made no sense. But of course, it's Kaya, so of course it was going to happen. Yeah, ended up losing my lead, dropped all the way down, and never forgave him. And
No.
I don't think I ever will, because it's I mean, not only is it a running meme now, but that would have been that was almost like the start of my my villain character arc, because before then I think I was that sort of I was quite happy with how everything was. I was nice and jokey with all the lads and all the guys and the girls in the chat, and then after that happened, I just it's like the Joker. It was just, that was my one moment where I was like, this was taken from me. I was like, I'm almost
But
like that sort of a Gollum moment, but yeah.
you definitely never forgave him, because that leads perfectly onto my next point about your unique commentary style, and of course being a commentator in real life. Um, where do we start with this? The driver intros in qualifying, or your continual bullying, or well, let's say character building of certain drivers, Kaya, Quinn, for example. Maybe even Jake Warrior when he was on full traction and pulling 8 tenths out of every corner in France. Where
Disgusting.
does this I know, where does this commentary style of yours come from, or is that something you reserve exclusively for JACKOCAR?
I certainly can't do it in my real life stuff, so I think that's probably
No.
why it's reserved for. I commentate over the youth coming up into the next. Well, previously like the Fab Racing, which is the feeder series for the British Superbike. So it was nice and friendly, and being all happy and pleased for everyone. But no, I think with my commentary, it's. I started a while ago, not too long after I started racing actually, and I kind of just got into. I'm very much a case of, yeah, I can do it. Why not? And yeah, I can comment. Why couldn't I commentate? Oh yeah. So took it on and did it for Alico Invictus for a while, and yeah, through that ended up a potential opening came up at a with a production company, and I put forward a tape, and he brought me in, and yeah, that was during COVID. So I did, yeah, 2 really good years with them during COVID. But what it did allow me to do is sort of like work out how to use your voice a little bit better, but also bring in your personality, and working with a producer in your ear when a race is going on with multiple cameras and multiple things going on. So when I come into commentary for JACKOCAR, it's a case of bringing in the sort of level of pacing and the same level of, say, I wouldn't say excitement, because obviously you turn up a notch depending on what you're watching, especially this season where it's been dire. But it's a case of
Really got to pace
it's been
yourself
a
for
case
those
of
safety cars, haven't you?
oh yeah, it was great. I mean, Singapore was one of the greatest nights of my life. Um, it was yeah, no, it's just been a case of making sure that I bring this my own personality in a way that I like to. Obviously, I've had my differences with people, and everything that I do is in jest. There's I don't have really. I'm sure Yuri would disagree with me, but a bad bone in my body. I really don't. I wish the best for everyone. I'm only here to make people realise that what we're doing is objectively ridiculous. Like, you sit here and you watch people get really upset about things, and really cross, and like ruin their evenings. And I think it was a case I had with, I don't know if we'll end up talking about it, like with Corey, is that he'd get so wound up about it. And to me, I'm like, God, there are kids dying of cancer around the world, and you're upset about the fact that someone's accidentally run you onto grass on an online video game. So it's such a perspective thing to me that I like to make sure that people realise that what we're doing is inherently ridiculous, However, I do still appreciate that a lot of people get enjoyment out of it. It's what brings them fun. So how can I bring that into commentary? Well, by bringing that into commentary is by giving them something which is a stream, and giving them providing commentary in the same pacing, the same style that I do in real life, but making it a lot more casual, making it a lot more relatable. Because I think, especially with JACKOCAR, if you compare it to, say, some of the other leagues that I've worked on, say a PSGL or a One Hub, where you would be inherently more professional because of the standard that sets.
Yeah.
With JACKOCAR, it's such a more tight-knit community that people get to know your personality more than just the commentator. So for me, it's making sure that people know that if they're going to be watching one of my streams, that they're going to hopefully have some fun whilst they're watching the racing. And I think, yeah, that was kind of exacerbated with the driver profiles this season. And that was a case of just I didn't have Owen for the first half of the season or so, and during qualifying, and although it's a different driver each lap, it's still effectively the same car driving around the same bit of track. So it was what could I do to introduce the drivers that was slightly more ridiculous each time, and it was making up these completely factual stats about everyone.
Totally factual. No,
Completely.
I know it got a lot of traction. It was very popular, certainly amongst the Kia guys where you do commentate. And something that I've done a lot of lead commentary this season. I don't know if you noticed, because Owen fails to turn up. Something that in my own commentary style, it's not something that I can do. One, because I'm not a professional, and two, because I don't really know. So I think it must be more your character and how you are. But it certainly has given, a lease of life into the Kia commentary, and that's no disrespect to previous commentators from that tier, but you've definitely needed it because of, like you said, the racing this season. Other than the 5 green flag laps that we get every race, it has been very dull behind the safety car. So it is just something that has just livened up. It's really nice to hear. Yeah.
I think Kia suffers from the it's almost a mixture of, how do I put this politely? Do I put this politely?
No, go
No,
on,
we
be
don't put
honest.
this politely.
Brutally
The
honest.
Jess effect. The Jess effect. So you've got all these cars out there, and this is no slight on Jess. Like I've said, that she gets solid points, she gets champion, she gets playoffs, she gets decent run. But if you've got an entire grid of people that want to be nice to each other, then you don't have a good race. You almost want a grid of people that are going to be arseholes to each other, but still be respectful enough on circuit. So obviously we saw, like, this is going to date the video, but in the Saudi Arabia race last week, where Kieran to me was racing Jake like an arsehole, but to me it was slightly over the disrespectful line than it was the respectful line, because I'm all for making it difficult to get someone past, but if you're running someone into walls, or if you're purposely driving slowly around a track just to effectively play with them, rather than, say, for backing them up into the case of backing them up for the case of helping out a teammate or a friend or whatnot. But in Kia, you've got an entire grid of that. You've got an entire group of people, say, apart from some of the faster guys like your Quinn, your Yuri, your Michelle, people like that. So what it does is you end up having these cars that just don't want to overtake each other, or at least they don't want to get into a position where they might end up getting into an argument post-race, which sometimes is you just got to have. Sometimes, I mean, I started on waste today because I'm still irritated about what you did in Saudi Arabia. It's not even my league, but I'm still taking on the drivers. But it's a case of you just need to, and I think with Kia is you just go, at some point you've just got to take the reins off. And I think Thomas Nevitt said it a while ago, and he was like, I'm a gentleman driver, and I'm just like, I'm not. It's like I love the idea of wanting to be respectful on circuit, but if you're respectful and if you don't want to get into contact with people, you're kind of in the wrong place, because it's like if you went go-karting and you just stood on the outside line and just let everyone go every single lap. You're just never going to get anywhere. So yeah, it's there's a lot of opportunity. It's a good training ground, but what they need to do is just need to. I think a lot of them see it as like, oh, okay, I'm not as fast as a Yuri, I'm not as fast as a Michel. Therefore, what can I do to finish in third? Rather than how can I beat these guys when they end up coming up behind me? And that's the mindset difference I think you see between, say, a Kia driver and a Cup driver, where say Jake arrives behind someone slower like Kieran's mindset is, how do I slow him up? It's just making sure you do that
Yeah.
in a manner that is not going to get you disqualified.
And just to recap on your point about Kieran holding up Jake, let's put it into context a little bit of how stupid that was. Jake, 3 second time penalty, and already advanced to the round of 6 starting next week. Kieran just has to sit behind him to win the race, but instead
Kieran,
decided to make
yeah,
life
Kieran has
difficult
to
for
sit
no
there to
reason.
win the race, and also, you had I'd already retired, so he was making up points on me. Casper was further down. Jamie had a shocker, so it was perfect for him. But classic Kieran
Yeah,
doesn't know when he's beaten. He prefers to take himself on.
yeah, and that I've put a stat in the chat. That is the most points lost from winning positions in a postseason ever. I believe it is, because he could have won.
Excellent.
Could he have won Imola? Or he was very high up in Imola, wasn't he? Won the race after in Brazil, and then obviously got disqualified in Saudi. Unbelievable drive. I can't wait for his podcast.
I'm, I'm devastated. It really is. I'm so gutted for him.
Yeah, but we'll move on from that. This is a good one. You'll like this next point here. How did this come about? And then in quotation marks, the fastest man in team speed, the self-proclaimed fastest man in team speed at that.
How did it come about? Do you know what? I don't even really know. I think at one point in the chat I was, because I mean, really, we all know it's true anyway. We've
Yeah,
watched the season. We've seen who's the most good, and we've seen that it's really that Ben Shaw's in a faux position. He's been picking up lucky results here and there, like so. It's for me. It was very much the start of the season when Ben was driving at his usual standard, where he was terrible and didn't pick up some points for the first few races,
I think he was 12th in
and
China. So,
oh, it was awful,
yeah.
dreadful, and so for the man that goes into his own party because he refuses to sit with his teammates, has his own race engineer, he ended up sitting behind the fastest man in team speed because I was ahead of him in the standings and have been until it was rudely taken away from me over the last few races. So it's it it was of course it's like a slight, of course, the I we all know that Ben's very quick on his day and is very good at spending his time when he's not at uni playing the game and sweating it out and making sure that he's got all the right lines to take on someone like Jake. And you've got to be, because Jake has gone from being a non-race winner and making one of the best overtakes ever to apparently becoming Jesus, and winning everything. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jake is now about 4 seconds lap faster than anyone else in Cup. So yeah, Ben's done a good job. But yeah, now it's time for him to step aside and let someone that's actually competent carry the team forward. And because if he's not willing to sit in the party, he wants to go sit on his own and have Matt Roseman telling him, "Yeah, oh God, oh Ben, you're so quick. Oh, you're doing so well." Then of course he's going to lose that title.
Absolutely. And you know what? The only thing, tell me if you disagree with this. The only thing I think holding you back from being absolutely clear in team speed is your
Is Yuri?
notorious
Oh no.
no, your notoriously poor qualifying results. I mean, you've had a couple of P3s, but they're like rock and horse shit. They're very rare. Um, what is it about qualifying that you can't quite get right, but in the race, the Jess effect, if you will, you're constantly up there beating your rivals?
Quali is always. I mean, I've always enjoyed about the fact that I've gone from being sort of bad at quali to notoriously bad at quali, famously bad at quali. So I mean, it was exponentially growing each week. That just how dreadful I've been. And yeah, to be fair, it's true. I love the idea of the one shot. I do think it's the best way of doing it. However, I've got no bottle when it comes to over one lap. So because I don't really play the game, I switch it on for Jacko and previously for VSL, and that's it. I don't practice before and after the race. It's like, as we're recording this before a race tonight, and I haven't touched the game since looking at the rear end of or looking at Wace's car approach mine at about 400 miles an hour. So it's going to be a case of just switching on and seeing what my pace is like, because I don't think I would have done a lap at Mexico since last season when I got eliminated by shenanigans within ART. So it is definitely something that I'd like to see myself getting faster at, but I don't know. It's almost it's like a running meme now that. But I'm quite happy starting that midfield because I don't really want to get involved in kind of. I think if you're starting up at the front, like I've had it a couple of times where you start P2, P3, P4, around that sort of. And I think this season I've kind of picked up a little bit, but if you're getting someone that's, say, starting on a set of softs that's started in P6 and P7, all you do is lose time. So I'd rather start in that midfield, get into a bit of a rhythm in the race, and as I was doing earlier in the season before I actually started being relatively competitive and just shithousing some laps led.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the season, my goal was just to lead a lap every single race, just to find out how that would go. But I think there was one race where I think it was Jake ended up being a pit stop ahead of me just because I was just trying to get a lap led, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably stop doing that and actually start racing. So yeah, and in all that, of course, still managing to pick up points and snatching away that spot that Ben Shaw loves to find himself in qualifying. So yeah, I'll be. I think when we go into a race and I'm starting. To be fair, if we get towards this end of the season, we're only a couple of races for the Championship 5, and I'm still setting a qualifying lap. Within the top 4, top 5, then regardless of if I make it to a Championship 5, then it's a successful season, because I don't see myself as being up there with the faster guys on a consistent basis, because there's tracks that I do like, there's tracks that I don't like, and I'm like a Matt Roseman now. I'm an old man, so it's my reactions are slower off the line. So it's no real upside for these guys beating me. They should be beating me. The fact that they're not is somewhat shameful, you'd say.
I think you're third or fourth oldest in the league after Matt Bazza, and maybe you'll know him as Cloud, but Chris Morris. I think he might be slightly older than you. And then the rest of us are all young puppies. Well, it doesn't feel like it, let me assure you. Awful bad back at my age. I've got 4 more points here. Okay. What are your favourite rivalries in the league and favourite drivers to race against in the league, Cup and Kia?
I mean, my all-time favourite rivalry is just Yuri. From starting Kia all the way through to now, is my weekly goal is to make sure that I finish ahead of that surly Dutchman and make sure that he ends it by shouting "Godverdomme" as loudly into microphone as possible. But but back when in my first season, it was a case of, I think we pretty much traded fastest laps and were nose to tail for the majority of the races. I always seem to, I think I said it during that season, I always seem to find you on circuit, no matter if we're fighting for a win or if we're fighting for 7th position. So I'm glad that he's moving into Cup full time, because he's too fast for Kia, shouldn't be in it. But yeah, it's always a lot of fun racing with him. He's a great guy, getting into speed was was interesting because I was just bored of racing against him. I thought, well, I might as well find a way to get in there and be able to tell him to move out of the way and let the faster driver through. So I mean, that's the only reason why I joined Speed, was just to have a group of 5 or 6 people that I could tell to move and let the faster driver through.
6 rear gunners ain't
But
bad, is it?
no, absolutely, as proven in Monza last season. But
Yeah.
I mean, overall, um, I actually really enjoyed racing quite a lot of the guys on circuit, especially up in Cup over the last sort of season or so. It's being around guys that you know you can trust on circuit, and also just have a laugh with. Because whilst you might shout out to tell them to move out of the way politely, having people like a Jamie or previously having a Casper was a lot of fun to race against as well. I've had a lot of good fights with him, and it's all about being Jamie Numbers is also quite a fun one to get over, because he's not afraid to get his elbows out either. So I think we're at a good balance in Cup now, where we've got a solid amount of. I think we all know each other, and I think it's something I said to you quite recently, is that I think I've now embedded myself in the community enough that I think people get me. They get my humour. They get that I'm not. I don't take this seriously, but I'm still here to have fun, and but then equally that I'm going to out there and still going to race as hard as they are. So it's very much a case of making sure that everyone is going out and doing, and really, because ultimately what I want to do is just go out and have fun, and that's the end goal verbatim. It's all about going out there, making sure that the end result is, okay, if I've had a bad night yesterday, I want to have a good night tonight. And Cup this season and over the last few seasons has been semi progressive for myself. I've been getting a little bit faster and a little bit faster.
Yep. Good stuff. I think we've got about 20 minutes left because I can't go over the hour. But 3 more points. And this is the one I've been saving. This will probably take up most of this 20 minutes, actually. Your involvement last season in particular, and this season coming, your involvement in the Championship 5 build-up, and please reference the characters as well.
Where do I start? So obviously you had the idea of this filming the Championship 5 build-up last season, and I'm not one, as some of the guys in Speed have seen have I'm not one to shy away from making an arse out of myself to make other people laugh. I don't take myself very seriously, and therefore it allows me to be a little bit more fluid in how I behave in front of, say, a camera or a group of people that I've only met that morning. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy just making an idiot out of myself, as long as it's gonna add to it. And so I think where we had the idea of filming this, and it kind of gave me a couple of thoughts about how we could improve it, and obviously having different characters and different people involved in it that would enhance like having the Ked Travitz character.
Brilliant.
Where there is still so much evolution in these characters that we can carry on into other filming days, and also adding in more. I've got a notes section on my phone where I'm like, here's a character, a brief description of what they would be or what they would do and what they might look like. And I mean, I brought up a mini suitcase full of various different
I remember the
items and
suitcase.
fancy dress.
I remember I was.
And I think
I'll just say this. I was. I think I was getting changed like behind the curtain because we all put suits on. So everyone will know the Championship 5 bit where me, you, OKK, and Owen were all in our suits. I come from back behind this curtain, and this suitcase is like opened up on the floor, and my eyes are immediately drawn to an inflatable seagull of all things. And I was like, "What are you going to do with that, Gareth?" And he was like, you'll see. And I tell you what, it gave us the biggest laugh of the day as well. Like 6 hours later, and the seagull comes flying
Uh,
in.
and I had no idea what to do with it. At the time when I bought it, I was just like, this looks like it's going to be great. Whatever we do with it, it's going to be funny. And so, I mean, there's a couple more things like that that will be introduced this year or this season. But I think when you're in that situation, especially when we were doing the awards, and I think it was towards the end of the day, and I knew that it had taken up quite a bit of time, so I was aware that I wanted to try and get through it. But if you're say, because I've hosted a couple of award shows properly, and it's very easy to sort of, you're just saying the same thing, you're just reading out a winner or a person, you're reading out a winner, and then you move on to the next one. So okay, how can I make it so it makes it a little more? So obviously we had the reactions to the card being given out by, and like behind the curtain was the fact that it was Kieran either laying on the ground directly under my crotch, passing it up at me, and I think that was the only reason why I brought him up. He didn't do anything else because
No,
he was meant to be
no.
filming a behind the scenes, and I think he filmed about 30 seconds worth, and that was about it. And yeah, I think that with the seagull, and it's a shame that, I mean, I've been on at Ben that he needs to get the original clip out. It's sitting on his university laptop, because when it just when I pick it up and put it to my ear, I think even I'd like, because I'm good at I'm quite good at holding character, but as soon as you lot lost it,
Well,
that was very, very good.
I was stood on a ladder at the time. I couldn't. I was like laughing, but I couldn't go anywhere because I thought I was going to fall off. But it was insane. That
It
was
was
so
a
funny.
case of like the seagull, and then obviously when I was saying, because I think it was my idea. I'm sure everyone pitched in to kidnap Owen,
Yes.
and how we could make that look like it was like found footage. And I mean, there are so many, and this is, and like obviously, this is something you'll find out if you watch the Championship Fives. There's a plug, but in
Thank you.
the with the Championship Fives, I want this to be a running meet. I want this to be a theme of every single Championship Five, that in some way that Owen gets abducted, or he just appears in another room. As I said to him on stream the other day, I said, like, are you coming to the filming days? Oh, I'm not quite sure. I might be free. At least I don't have to wear that suit. And that's completely incorrect. He will be wearing that suit. I said I want him to wear that at every single family, funerals, weddings, like any mass. I want him to go in this suit. I want him to. I never want to see that tiny little Northern Irishman in nothing else but that 14-pound fluoro orange suit that was made out of tissue paper.
Now, for some people that don't quite get the reference, obviously Owen is Northern Irish. So when we dressed him up in orange, white, and green on the day, it's what's that the equivalent to? That's like wearing, I don't know,
A
a Manchester
Celtic
United.
fan wearing rain. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, Man
It's,
United shirt at a Man City home game. You know, you just don't do that. And he was all dressed up like an Irishman. It was brilliant. That was unplanned as well, wasn't it? Like we had no idea that was going to happen, but it was
I think it
my
was made
favourite
all
thing.
the better by the fact that he refused to wear proper shoes and had those disgusting blue sneakers on as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's like he didn't help himself. He's like, I just want to wear the jacket, and we're like, no, put the trousers on as well. Yeah, that's you're not getting away with that, Owen. And I really hope he can make it. It's next Saturday, isn't it? So, I hope he's there.
I think with that sort of thing, and it was the same thing for me with Michael. And Michael is just, he has a heart of gold, and he is
Yeah.
so lovely. But making him and making Owen feel as awkward as possible was one of the joys of my life. Of like dressing up in drag and making him stand and listen to the. I mean, it's just it was sheer joy for me, and that's the sort of thing I want. Like, hopefully, obviously, we'll get some more people in, and we'll see more. But that's what I want people to do. I want people to be able to come out of their shell and actually do the sort of the things that I do, and because I think that enhances the whole thing. If you've got people that really buy into it and are willing to sort of let that, and especially for some of these guys where it's maybe that they're in their late teens, early to mid 20s, where it's, you've still got, you think you've got that little bit of street cred, but really it's actually a lot funnier and a lot better if you really just let yourself go and and make yourself look like an idiot.
Yeah.
It's much funnier, and you'll be able to, like, and I would say, like, to me, one of my biggest gripes on social media is the absolute losers that put on, like, Twitter in their bio, 17 wins, 14 pole positions, and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to tell your kids that when you're older.
Kieran does
They're
that,
not
doesn't
going to
he?
care. But what he does, of course he does. We can have a guess why. But it's the sort of thing that your kids will laugh at is if they see a video of you dressed up talking to a seagull, because that's inherently stupid and funny. That is something that I would quite happily show my children. They're not going to care if you've won a race or two on F1 2019, but they will find it funny if they see you dressed as a woman or coming out dressed as a pastor in a jumper that's the wrong way round and a sticky on moustache.
Brilliant. And of course, that all come about because it was race 100 at Miami, so it was very American. And that we're trying to keep the theme as centralized and as focused on the country that's hosting the Championship 5 as much as possible. So this one is going to be very British. The next one is going to be very Vegas. And dare I say, the one after that? Or do we keep that one quiet for now, Gareth?
Or we can say, if it's very British and very American, it's the one after that will be very offensive, I think is the word you're trying to
I think
find.
we'll leave that one there then. We'll let find out. That would be sort of coming up this time next year, that one.
Well, there's the potential of, obviously, with this one being a Silverstone-based one, is there's going to be a lot of in jokes about the UK, about how the fact that Northerners are thick, and the fact that we're going to have to go up to Leeds and probably teach them how to use the internet and things like that. But there are characters that are on the way. There's obviously we had the pastor Ron P. Wifferson III as our invocation last season. I was actually, I don't know how blue you're allowing me to have my language on this, but
do what you want.
Okay, well, we might have the Archbishop of Canterbury doing the invocation this time around.
Brilliant.
There's a potential outfit that's on the way for someone that will deliver the prayer this time around.
Oh, I can't wait. We've got to get a man with a West Country accent in there as well. If you can't do that, I can deliver a West Country accent. But we got lots of time to work it out on the day, though. I'm very conscious of time, Gareth. We've got 2 more points. Like I asked the rest on these. Your future goals in real life and league racing, that is.
Real life is hopefully to start getting some more commentary in, working in more sort of the sports world. I work in content marketing at the moment, is perhaps trying to get involved in a little bit more of the sports side. I'm actually hoping to move to a town called Grove, and my garden would quite literally back on to Williams F1, so perhaps looking to get a job there to get that one started. But doing some more commentary. I unfortunately had to turn down commentating at Donington Park last weekend because I was looking at said house. So perhaps doing some national circuits. My ultimate goal is to commentate at Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch is my everything to me when it comes to this. Where I first watched my first ever race. Everything I remember about motorsport starts at Brands Hatch. When it comes to the game, it's just having fun, joining the speed lot, joining the ART lot, all the others that join in, having a laugh on the game. I'd love to win a race. I said to you in a couple of weeks ago that I feel that my character arc now says that I can only win races if they're just the most disgustingly like undeserved. I just want people to run out of fuel, to retire. I want there to be a safety car coming in on the end of the. I don't want to win a clean race. And if there was a championship 5, I would instruct my entire team to make sure that everything happened to give me just. I want it to be that there's the disgust that comes out of the commentaries like voices as I cross the line, having been 14th the entire race. So yeah, another race win would be nice, but only if it's truly, truly undeserved.
Love that. And final point from me is actually one for you. Is there anything I've missed that you'd like to touch upon, league racing wise?
No, not really. I mean, for obviously, it's been a case of I love it here. This as I said earlier, this has completely changed my mindset when it comes to racing. I've really enjoyed racing with the guys. I do enjoy being part of Speed. I'm glad that Yuri and I flirted for a while, and then I said, "What is Speed?" basically, and he made me ask. He was like, "What are you asking?" And I was there waiting for him to ask me, because I was like, "Well, what do you want of me?" So eventually I said, "Well, do you want me to be part of Speed?" And he went, "I'm so glad you asked." And it was just the most beautiful, romantic, platonic relationship you've ever seen. So, yeah, ART really missed out that without. I could have taken them to another title, but no, I really enjoyed it. Obviously had Corey on, who said that I was enemy number 1, which at the time when I listened to the podcast, I was like, what? Because to me, I mean, I used to enjoy winding Corey up, and I will enjoy winding Corey up as and when he comes back, because that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, it is all love all around. It's everything I do in jest, and I said to him at the time that it was a case of, look, I'm just going to take the piss out of you, because if you're being an idiot, I'm going to call you an idiot, and I think I do that in Kia as well. To the guys in the chat, I think they're slowly starting to. I think they're a little bit deer in a headlight compared to the Cup guys that get it pretty much daily from me now. So yeah, no, I really do. I really do love it here. It's a lot of fun. I think you've done a great job, and there's no way we're stopping after the next few seasons. We'll keep this one rolling until we're in our 40s at least. I'm going to need to do something when I'm.
I was just gonna say, or season 9 comes around.
That is true. Yeah, we might forcibly have it taken away from us.
But if not, like
that's,
you say,
that's
we
until
go on.
that's until Premier Inn come for you and slap you with a cease and desist for sullying their name. But
Hey, I'll
no,
tell you, I have permission to use their name. The Kia brand in Tesco's as well is now part of our umbrella. I got their permission legitimately, I'll have you know.
Lenny Henry will be at your door next. But no, really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. I know there's a couple of guys that you'll be chatting with that'll be fun to listen to. I know yours is obviously it's been before. I'm looking forward to listening to that one. I know that I'm looking forward to a Jake one, a J Luke one as well. Some of the faster guys, and as you say, Kieran's will be quite good as well. We can listen to him. How he continuously cheated in the championship 5 to get a safety car out, cheated to try and stop Jake from winning. What goes through the mindset of that completely depraved young man?
Sickening, isn't it? And
disgusting.
We shall finish on that note, because I think we're close to an hour here. Mr. Hall, driver of the 89 car, thank you very much for joining us on JACKOCAST. This episode will be up at some point in the next week or so, I hope. So yeah, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.